Hello, everybody. My name is Jesse. My pronouns are he and him, and I will be your MC tonight, your GM, for today's game of Tales from the Low Cantrefs. We left off on a little bit of a cliffhanger last week, but before we get to that, let's introduce all of our players, and we'll just go left to right across the character keeper. So that means Maria. Who?
That's the wrong button. Hi, I'm Maria. My internet currently hates me, so I'm trying to do this without my camera, or I don't know, save the internet. Introducing my characters. I am playing Idris Penrose. He uses he, him pronouns. He is the Bell playbook. He's growing like a weed, is the son of the village pub keep, blacksmith barkeep sort of fellow. Has lost someone close to him in that he was very much in like love, or thought he was in love as you can be when you're 16, and really wanted to like eventually get married to one of Una's brothers, but unfortunately bad things happened and that brother is no longer alive, and it has sort of been dealing with that loss. Yeah, Idris saw scary things happen last session, at least weird creatures, and had a nice little moment with Anya. And when last we saw Idris, he was watching things through a door that were potentially bringing up memories. So I think that is Idris.
I think yes, and that feeling of being in love when you're 16 is something that has no real parallel as an adult. It is quite a drug. Wonderful. Jan, would you like to introduce us to yourself and Una?
My name is Jan. My pronouns are he, him. My character is named Una. Her pronouns are she, her. Una is the Blade playbook, which is a little bit of a misnomer in Una's case because it makes it sound like she's good with a weapon. But what she's really good at is waving it around in threatening fashion in the hopes of not actually having to use it. She is one of several sisters of all female household. Her father and her two older brothers both died in the war under mysterious circumstances, and so Una has sort of picked up the role of like the household defender from her young older brother, father, from their like model, I guess, which means that she sort of behaves like a tough, strong man, at least like her standard of what that means. And so she's kind of a caricature, and so her way of dealing with fear of any kind is to be as threatening as possible. And it works for her most of the time. People tend to back down. We'll see if that works for the supernatural or not. And I guess I should mention that she has an iron axe and some chainmail, which we've seen already on screen a few times. But she also has a tin whistle and a token of promise ode, which we haven't really seen yet.
Wonderful. Robbie, would you like to introduce yourself and Dogan?
My name is Robbie. I use he, him pronouns, and I am playing Dogan, who uses he, him pronouns. And the playbook I'm using is the door. Dogan is a member of a farming family who lives on the edge of the village. Dogan, when growing up, had a great aunt who other members of the family were perhaps a little reluctant to take care of, but she was family. They thought she was a little bit strange, also possibly delusional, but Dogan established a relationship with her and I think took her more seriously than other members of the family. And as a result, kind of learned some things and had bestowed upon him a key which has kind of entered into play. That the key that the great aunt gave him is seems to be able to access doors that have mystical powers. He also has a conjurer's manual that is a little incomplete, but it's also irreplaceable, and that was bestowed upon him by his great aunt as well.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And finally, Leandro, would you like to introduce yourself and Anya?
Yeah, my name is Leandro. Use he him pronouns, and for this series, I've been playing Anya O'Kellig, uses she they pronouns. Uses the Loom playbook, which means she can pull the thread and see the future, which is it's caused quite a bit of chaos in her life. Yeah, some of that chaos involves a vision of her brother, who's kind of like a somewhat well-beloved messenger of the village. She saw a vision of him being attacked and gravely wounded in the future, and that's kind of caused her to be a bit neurotic about him in many ways. Hence why she spent last session just really fussing over what could happen to him, and apparently it's for a good reason, because he was up to shenanigans, to say the least. Much of this overprotectiveness had kind of ensured that she was not around this mysterious door opening, because she has enough spooky stuff of her own going on.
Yes. Wonderful. So, just very quickly, I'd like to talk for a moment about the safety tools we're using in this game. We are using a few tools. Number one is the X card. If anyone at any point wants something that happened in the story to not have happened, you could just say X or X card, or put an X up on screen like this, or write X in the group chat, or whatever you want to indicate that you would like to stop and have this piece excised. And it will be done with no justification required. I may ask a question or two to identify precisely what is being X, so we can avoid it in the future. But on the whole, no real questions asked. The next tool we are using is using parts of Bo Sheldon's script change toolkit, and we're using 3 of those. Rewind, which if anyone at any point says, "Hey, can we rewind back to just before that scene happened?" I'm not comfortable with how it went, and I'd like to have that out of the story and move forward without it. We can do that again. No questions asked, no justification required. You could say pause at any point. If you want to pause the action, either just to take a breath or take a rest or breathe, or additionally to say, "Hey, can we just talk about what's happening here for a second? I'm okay with it. It can be in the story, but can we just talk through some of the parts, because it's complicated, or we're getting to something that's sensitive and I want to talk it through." And the third tool in the script change toolkit that we're using is fast forward. Fast forward says, "Hey, what's about to happen? It can happen. I'm cool with it happening in the story, but we don't need to dwell on the death scene of this character's loved one. We can just say it happened, and fast forward. They'll fade to black and fast forward through it." So those are the script change tools that we're using. And the final set of tools we're using are lines and veils. We have lists of lines and veils, lines being things that will not appear in the game in any form, and veils being things that can appear in the game but not on screen. That as they come up will fade to black, like the classic, lovers kiss and fade to black, and then cut to the next morning, kind of thing. We all know what happened, but we don't have to describe it in any kind of detail. And so our lines tonight, and I put them on screen, are sexual violence, homophobia, racism, and cancer. None of these things will appear in any form in our story. Our veils are sex and harm to domestic animals. And we also have a category called Ask First, which is things that we're okay with happening in the story. They can even happen on screen, but you want to have a conversation before they get engaged because they're complicated and can be sometimes problematic. And so you want to talk about it first. And this is loss of character agency, things like mind control or flirting, intimidating with people who are in disguise. Yes. So those are our lines and veils for tonight. In general, if you can add to this list at any point, just if you could indicate to me somehow that you have added, so that I can check in and make sure I've got it. Okay, those are our safety tools. Any questions about any of the safety tools? Everyone good with the safety tools? Excellent, great. So where we left off last session, our crew was split. There had been a murder earlier in the day. Anya's brother's rival, Adair, they had been rivals for the position of chief ranger for the town, was found dead, and they had a fight earlier in the day, and so Calm, Anya's brother, is the main candidate. So the two of them were home in the O'Kellig house, in their house. Meanwhile, over on the far side of the village, in the ruin where they kind of hang out, Idris, Una, and Dogan Dogan had tried to peer through the door of memory in order to learn something, and it had not gone terribly well. And a few things happened. Una and Idris were shown visions of a lost loved one, and the moment of their bodies return home, and Dogan had a vision of his great aunt, who told him what he wanted to know, how to banish a spirit. But at the same time, he felt the presence of one of the ancient dead emerge into the vicinity. Now, Anya, you're going to have to remind me, the last moment with your brother, he confessed to what?
To tampering with something to up his chances of getting the position of chief ranger. He said he's found something in some ruins, or a cavern.
It was the pits in the meadows that he had summoned up a devil, an imp, some kind of a dark spirit to help give him an edge. So with those, I think that was his confession was where we ended the session last time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think Anya got overwhelmed and was like close to fainting, and she might have fainted.
So before, as I mentioned, I said this before we started, but I have some ideas of scenes we could open with here. But if anyone has something particular they want to do in response to sort of the closing scenes of last session, I'm happy to open with those. So does anyone have a scene there they want to dive in with?
I think I was pulling the thread.
That is exactly right. I even have a note that we are going to start with as Anya faints. She pulls the thread. Correct. I had forgotten, even though I wrote it down.
That's fine.
All right. So Anya has fainted, or has swooned briefly. And what does it feel like to pull the thread here?
Yeah, I think this is her nearly fainting is what happens when I think I kind of mentioned when she did this the first time, it was kind of like somewhat under duress. Usually she does this with some foresight, with some forethought. But things got, but she was annoyed last time. This time, this is like almost out of desperation. So this is why suddenly her energy level was going real low as she kind of like forces herself to like take a peek at the future. And I think let's see what she sees.
Sure, yeah. Let's see. Let's roll those dice. Oh dear, that is very bad. That is very, very bad. Yeah. So,
It's amazing.
when you pull the thread, turn your gaze to the ungiven future, roll plus learning. On any hit, you can ask the GM a question. On a miss, ask one anyway, but be prepared for the worst. So what's your question, Anya? And tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let's see. God, they're all really good questions.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Anya doesn't know what's happening in the ruins, but let's see.
If you want to use that like player knowledge to ask the question, and then we can frame the answer like such that like you sort of get some of it, we can do it that way if you want to. But
I think the question I want to ask is, where should I look for help if I'm desperate? Because I think I am desperate right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a couple. What do you want help with?
With what my ridiculous silly brother just did, confessed to doing. Just summon this imp.
So there are two sort of answers to this question. So the first one is just I'm going to ask the table. Can Anya turn to any of you if she's desperate? Will you do your utmost to help her?
Oh, 100% Una will.
I think I would. Idris would.
Dogan?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dogan would. I mean, especially if this right, if it came up that this there was something with this imp that Column had kind of released or summoned, that Dogan would be.
Yeah, so that's one answer, right? And I think that's like an answer that you don't need your powers to sort of know, right? You're like, you're feeling desperate, and you sort of recognize you have these friends you can turn to. But there's also another answer. And I think as you sort of open your eyes out of this swoon, you see on the one hand, you see this is like a point of view shot coming up from the floor with you on the ground, right? And there's sort of like two faces in your vision, sort of like leaning over you, right? And your brother's like holding your hand, and you know the sort of like warmth and calluses of his hand, or you know what that feels like. It's definitely him. And he's looking at you, and he's like, Anya, are you okay? Is everything all right? I know it's scary, but really, I think it can help. And the second face is a sort of a round-cheeked, pointy-chinned, leathery, rosy-skinned, well, kind of devilish face. And it says, it says in this sort of like whiny, high-pitched voice, I helped your brother, and I can help you too. And Column says, I know it seems bad, but it might be our only hope. And we're going to cut back to the ruins. So you know, you've been gifted this vision, Dogen. All three of you have been gifted a vision of sorts. And also Dogen, you in particular have detected this. It was only a moment, but you know it's there now, right? You felt the door of mist open somewhere nearby, outside of the village, and release an ancient some kind of ancient dead into the world. I mean, what I guess for all of you, like what's your? We talked about your immediate response to the vision, but Dogen, do you communicate this to the others? Do you what do you want to do with it?
Yeah, well, and if I recall correctly, the vision was that that this malevolent being had been released into the world, but that it could be neutralized or sent back, provided it had to be physically subdued and then dragged back into the door of mist.
Yes, you have to physically remove it back into death.
And Dogen relays that and looks to, I think, especially Una, who seems to be the one who is most frequently waving knives and swords about, and says, Una, I think if we are going to turn the tide, you are going to be the one that will need to take the point.
I think she says she pulls the axe out of like the like spot she has it in the wood, and she asks, does the spirit have to get back in one piece through the door?
That wasn't revealed. I think probably it doesn't matter if it's one piece or many, provided it's unable to fight. Either way will do.
Let's hope for many then.
I think Idris is gonna like grab the arm of Una that is like holding onto the axe and be like, "But Una, you can't. If something bad happens to you, who's gonna take care of your family? It's just your sisters and your mother."
Well, if something bad happens to me, then, well, there's no stopping what comes next, I suppose. Which is exactly why nothing bad will happen to me.
Peers over. Is the door still open, or is that not there?
I think the door has shut, unless Dogen has a particular reason he wants to keep it open. But if he's keeping it open, there's some stuff's going to be happening.
Yeah, I don't know that Dogen would. I think that Dogen once Dogen got the basic message right, that that there's something foul prowling about the village. Dogen is he would close the door, relay the message, and be kind of looking for a way to a way forward to kind of deal with this menace.
Yeah. So go ahead, Idris, if you were going to say something.
I guess Idris is going to be like, you saw the memory, what it looked like when Nev came back. Are you sure there's no way we can just go somewhere safe? Take the whole village?
I think as you say, take the whole village, Idris. There's you start to if any of you glance like out across the sort of like way from the ruins towards the village, you see like an amount of torchlight that seems unusual for this time of night. You all snuck out after bedtime, like, late. And there's always like a few torches. There's some people guarding or whatever, but there's like a cluster you can sort of see moving. It's hard to tell from this distance, but like there's a bright cluster of firelight moving in the village that you can see sort of like out through one of the collapsed walls. And
I think Una just takes off. She just bolts, just goes running towards it.
Anyone else?
I think Dogen says, Una, where are you going?
Hurry up, Slowpoke! I'm already 100 strides ahead of you.
Idris just looks like at Dogen, like she's gonna get herself in a lot of trouble. And everyone else.
Yeah, but I'm befuddled as to what is going on. There must be something astir in the village.
I guess we should also chase after her.
Yes, or at least best we can follow behind.
She has the axe, after all. She is right on that one point.
So I think Una, because you're the one in the lead here, but you're kind of far away, right? But you're lucky in that, like, they're very visible, right? They're not hiding anything. It's this like jumble. It's probably about like half a dozen to like 10 people. Let's say like 8 people, who have gathered with torches. At their lead is Duncan, who you know to be maybe an unfortunate name given how similar it is to Dogen, but that's not how you spell that name. Duncan, who is one of the village elders, the elder of Fickle Holly. He's is in the lead. Is in the lead. Duncan Burke, and you hear him, and you hear him kind of shouting, "We can't trust him to stay in his house. We know what he did. He must stand trial soon, or not at all." But he's like riling up this group. Everyone else there, there's a few faces you recognize. It's none of your families, at least at the moment. But they're clearly, like, I think by the time you catch them, Una, with your friends behind them, they are outside the O'Kellig house. And I think this is also the moment at which Anya is awakening, hearing these angry murmurings outside her house, and she sort of realizes this is perhaps the thing that the devil is saying it can help with.
May I, since I was the first on scene, may I give a fraught situation its full attention?
Oh, absolutely. This is a fraught situation.
Yeah,
for sure.
I figure. So that's going to be a caution, and my
tell me what it looks like. What are you doing? How are you giving this fraught?
So yeah, I just I'm like running with my axe towards the thing because I'm like worried something is happening. Una's always on the lookout and wants to be there to protect whoever from whatever. And so she's bolting through the woods, and she's like getting hit in the face with like, like low-lying tree branches and so on. And so she gets to the edge of like, I guess it's not quite the woods, but
you
like,
actually you ran straight through the village, right, to get from where you were.
Yeah. But I mean the what is it called, the clubhouse? It's like quite a little bit removed from the village, right? So I figure I have to go through some wild territory.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let me just position myself here and see where.
Yeah, we can put that map up for.
Yeah, I'm looking at the O'Kalig house. Is that the right one?
Yeah. So right, you were sort of down over here, right? And I think you saw like the torches, like here-ish, and when they were heading up there, and you like ripped off after them. So you're sort of like cutting through this corner of the village here.
I don't see where you're pointing on maybe my video's not.
You know why? Because I'm on the wrong. You're over here. Right, this is the ruin, and you probably were like cutting up this way, right? You first saw the torches somewhere over here, and you sort of like ripped up that way up to the O'Kellig house.
Yeah. And so I think I positioned myself behind like a building in a shadow, and I peer out, and we get that beautiful shot with like I just see one half of my face sort of shadowed, and then like fire flickering. And then maybe you see the reflection of the crowd in one of Una's eyes as she sort of stares down intently and tries to take the scene in.
Sure, yeah. So roll it.
Sure, yeah. Let's do it. So my caution is 2. Roll the modifier. Number of d6 is 2. Roll the dice. Ooh, 12.
12, fantastic. So on any hit, so first of all, you can ask, as the situation unfolds, you can freely ask the GM questions from below. You can ask 3 questions on a 10+. So do you have a question you want to start with, or do you want to hold your hold for the situation as it unfolds?
I do want to start with one really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll wait till the situation holds. So I get how many holds? 3?
You get 3 holds.
Yeah. So I'll just hold them for now.
Sure. So you're like examining and watching, and you hear like angry sounds, and so Anya, you hear the sound of this. It's a mob. It's not a huge mob, but it's a mob, right? Outside the door, and you hear them calling, "Come out, come out!" No one's pounding on the doors yet. What would you like to do?
So when I saw that devilish creature that is probably a devil, are they still there, or was that just?
Oh yeah, they're still there, right? They're.
Okay.
I mean, it's like this is all happening at once, right? You wake up, you hear the sound of the mob outside. You see your brother's face and the devil sort of hanging over you.
I think just like look angry, just kind of like almost kind of like just whisper, "Here's the devil. How can you be of any help? This is your fault. This is your doing."
And he smiles and sighs, and kind of like, if you're like trying to get a better look at him now, right? He's like very much, it's almost like a gargoyle-y devil kind of look. He's small and squat and pot-bellied and naked with like spindly arms, right? And he kind of like rocks back on his heels and onto his like sitting back on his butt with his like knees up, right? And he's like, I just tried to give your brother what he wanted. I didn't bring these people here. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. No, I didn't do this. But the same way your brother's problem got solved, we can well, not exactly the same way, but we can solve this problem too, is what I'm saying. And he gives this like big like toothy smile, not threatening at all, right? It's like very warm, actually.
Yeah. I want to try to take their measure.
Yeah, sure. Roll plus. First of all, tell me how you're sort of like looking at them. How are you sort of taking their?
I'm looking at them venomously.
Oh, sure.
I'm hoping I'm looking at them in a way that I hope I can just kill them by like looking at them.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, roll plus caution.
Okay, did I? Oh, there. Ooh, that's a 13. Oh, where was that from?
I don't know, but it's a nice roll.
Yeah.
You get to ask a question, and then you also may ask a follow-up question, which I think the follow-up doesn't have to be from the list, right? You can just ask a sort of open.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. Are they interested in me? And if so, why?
So like, I think you see kind of like they seem very warm and friendly, right? And they like, there's this like very much this like, oh, I want to help you. I want to do what I can for you, right? But you're like with the sort of like stark venom and hostility that you're like radiating out towards it. I think what you kind of notice is there's like, it has kind of a predatory look in its eye, but it's not personal, right? And then like, like it looks, it almost, I think it sort of like shies away from your toxic stare and like looks out the window, and that's really when you see its hunger. Right, you can see it sort of like its tongue almost starts to kind of like loll out of its mouth. It's not fully slobbering, right? But it's like just like a moment of like animal hunger that like it quickly controls. And what you can kind of see from that is that there's something to the situation that it finds that if it can make something happen, it will sate its hunger for a time, right? It will feed it, whether you don't know what exactly. And in as much as like you're a part of this situation that can escalate it, it's interested in you.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, so I'm just kind of like seeing that, and I'm just I think Anya's just really frustrated and just go, okay, I don't see how your help can. I don't see what you can do that won't escalate what's happening here, but I think she just kind of looks out there, takes a peek out of the window. There's just a decent sized mob there.
Yeah, and you see Duncan, who is the elder of Fickle Holly, and I think one thing that you sort of like know about him is that he's being attached to Fickle Holly. His mood and his goals often change like the wind. Right? He's very much sort of a his personality follows the tree that he serves, and he's, whether he has caught up this mob or he is caught up in this mob is probably an open question. But he's currently the catalyst for all of this. He's also, you've never known him to be a particularly violent man, personally.
Okay. So I think I'll just turn around to the devil and be like, okay, if I need something from you, what do I need to do?
He'll answer that. That doesn't have to be your follow-up question for Take Your Measure, just so you know.
Asking.
Yeah. He's like, just ask. If I can do it, I will. I have powers. And he says it that way and kind of smiles, right? Like he's trying to lighten the mood in this very heavy situation.
Okay. I need you to go. Just
go where?
Away.
Oh, it doesn't work like that, sweetie.
Really? you said you can take whatever you want from me. Just I'll pay some kind of price, but you just need to go.
Anything?
Oh, she shouldn't have said that, shouldn't she? I'm not going to take that back.
I think your brother and I need to walk out that door. That will certainly protect you here. And I think as it says that, we're going to cut away from you. And I think this is the moment where two things happen. Idris and Dogan catch up. And you hear with his you hear and Duncan pounds on the door to Anya's house. We've come for Calm. Is I pronouncing that right? Calm, 1 or 2 syllables.
It's 2 syllables.
Okay, Calm. We've come for Calm. And Idris and Dogan, you see this happen. In that moment. What's your Idris? What's your response? Do you respond?
I think Idris is nervous by just like the size of the crowd and the like everything that's going on. And I think Idris also kind of recognizes Duncan as the elder of Fickle Holly has like power over the crowd, because Idris's mom is like an attendant of Gentle Hazel, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Idris is just gonna like set his shoulders and like kind of nervously swallow and stride up to Duncan and kind of just Elder Duncan.
So here's my question. Are you just quietly saying this to Duncan, or are you addressing the crowd?
I think I'm going to say it to Duncan, but I'm going to pitch my voice so that I can use public speaking.
Absolutely. So
if you stroll out, sorry to interrupt. I'm totally like gonna stand out right between you and Duncan, like one step ahead.
Okay.
Absolutely. I do want to give Una a quick chance to ask one of those questions, I think, because I think that might help you with as you pitch your public speaking thing. So Una steps out and what questions do you want to ask?
Yeah, so can I ask the same question twice from the list, but with different targets?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So first question is, how can I help Anya? And the second question is, how can I help Idris?
Yeah. So it's kind of so I'll let that be just one. Use just one hold for that question, right? Because the answer is kind of the same. And I think there's a couple of for actually they're different answers, but it's fine. So for Anya, you need to calm down this mob, right? That's the thing that can help Anya most in this moment. And for Idris, you can help her by sort of like standing beside her and showing your support. And there's actually, if Idris wants support, she can turn to you to ask for it also, because there's a move for that. But you can be available to her, to him. I'm sorry, excuse me. You can be available to Idris. Like in that moment, and just sort of like, be there, keeping the eye of the crowd on him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how can I protect myself?
The problem is the answer to that is the opposite of the answer to the first two questions, right? I mean, if this fails, right? If you don't manage to calm down the crowd and the crowd stays riled up, you can best protect yourself by getting out of there.
That's not happening. Yeah.
And
last question, what should I be afraid of?
What should you be afraid of? Whatever it was, right? You know these people, and like, yeah, they can get riled up, but there's something supernatural happening that's like that's really pushed this to the brink. They would have stayed muttering in their homes and then brought him in front of the elders in the morning, right? And all, but this is this kind of mob. It's not quite an attack. This mob attack is unusual and weird, and something is behind it. Yeah. So with that Idris, and with Una sort of by your side, what do you say?
Should I roll first, or should I construct something first?
So I think I'd like you to I think the way to do this is you start. You address them, right?
Okay.
And then you roll, and then on a hit they listen.
Okay. Because I think I'm not gonna construct a speech or anything, because
you can just give us the sense.
Yeah,
the
I
argument.
feel like Idris is basically, while looking at the elder, going to try and say something like, I know this is kind of a quick situation that's happened, and I know that this is what you and your tree are good at, reacting to quick situations and change, but perhaps we need to call on the spirit of the gentle Hazel and not all come in such an aggressive way to Colm's house, because that sets the mood for a conversation that's not gentle or open. It's one where you're likely to get a defensive reaction because there's so many of you with fire and yelling. So perhaps if we could disperse the crowd so that you could just have a nice one-to-one conversation.
And Una pipes in, yeah, or else, and grips her axe tighter.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and roll, Idris.
All right, that's plus honesty, which I have. Where is my character? 2 of. Okay. That was a 9.
Yeah. So on a 7 to 9 hit, so on any hit they listen to your words. We'll tell you how many do so. It's not a huge crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of them listen. No, they'll all listen to you. I think they'll all listen and hear you out. What would you like them to do?
Well, I want everyone except Duncan to leave. Or at least Duncan could have a few people, but not a crowd.
Yeah, so you're going to calm them and have them disperse. That's the pick. Yeah, so I think Duncan stops, and he looks at you, and he says, "Young ones should not speak so to their elders, but, well, you have a point. Perhaps the Hazel's gentle touch would be helpful here."
It's only that I've seen far too many crowds in the pub behave like this, and it's never ended well.
And so he says, but I must speak with Colm tonight. He says he turns to the crowd and he says, young Mr. Penrose is correct. To an extent. Go. You don't need to be here tonight. You don't need to be here tonight. Be ready tomorrow, in case anything happens. But and I will go in and speak with Mr. O'Kellig.
So as the crowd is dispersing, Una's gonna like flow against the stream and kind of shoulder her way through the crowd and try to get to the door and knock on it and sort of be like,
So you have to shove the elder out of the way to do that.
is he like right in the way?
Because he was just standing there banging on the door.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think I'll like.
So that's, and to do that right, that requires a stand fast move, right? You can't just like shove an adult out of the way.
Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna shove. I think right when I get to the door, and I'm gonna stare him down, and I'm gonna call him out, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna give him the look of like, what's that expression? I'm looking for an expression here. It's not coming to me, but basically the idea of like, oh, I remember, it's shit or get off the can, like like basically like if you're gonna get out of my way unless you're gonna do something about it, because I'm here to protect my friend, basically, and we both know that this is not like the right way, but this is all conveyed in like this is not even conveyed in words. This is just a look of like fierceness and like determination with like, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are you trying to? So just the situation is he's back down, right? He wants to go in and talk to them, but like the mob has cleared out and he's going to have a conversation. So what are you trying to sort of accomplish with this?
What I'm trying to accomplish is to, first of all, just like make him feel a little bit of shame, because this is like kind of extreme, and I don't think it's like just or the right approach at all. And I want him to get out of my way so that I can be like to get inside the house with Anya and be there in case anything has happened.
It sounds to me you're calling him out. Is that?
Yeah, that's what I was angling for.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so yeah, you roll plus courage, and then after this roll, we'll take a break, and then I kind of want to hear what Dogen's been feeling about all of this. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a 9.
You got a 9. Great. So when you challenge someone's is it their honor or sense you doubted?
I think it's sense.
You just think he was like, this was a stupid thing for him to do?
Yeah. Okay.
So on a 7 to 9 hit, they hear your words, or in this case, your sort of body language, right? But have their doubt. They'll make excuses, give justifications, pass off responsibility, or try and divert you unless one of your companions backs you up. So I think what they say is, young Miss McGilchrist, and you can see the shame in his face. Like, you've definitely succeeded in that regard, but you haven't like put him off his task in any real way. Now one of your companions can back you up here. Is anyone interested in sort of stepping up to do that?
Cantrefs is just like tugging on Una's arm, like, Una, please.
Sure. So it sounds like no on that on that front. Dogen, are you sort of like reading the situation and going to back her up, or are you like, what is she doing getting in the face of this person who just agreed to help us, basically, right? Who just agreed to do what we want?
Yeah, I think Dogen is. I don't know, but Dogen is. I think wanting. I mean, given the bigger picture, I think Dogen wants to, I mean, does see a need for kind of Una to be strong. So I think, I think Dogen would back her up in this.
How are you going to back her up? What do you do to sort of like indicate that, like, yes, Elder, you should be ashamed?
Well, I wonder. I wonder if I could do this by first, I'm wondering if I could search my memory about Duncan and whether, if I was successful there, whether that would give me something that would give me leverage to back up.
You can definitely do that. You don't need to do that here, right? Here you can just step up. If you want to do it afterwards to sort of like, get leverage on him for whatever happens next. But here, like you can see he's like looking, he's clearly ashamed. He just needs something to like, because that's how Una's move works, right? He just needs something to sort of like push him, over the.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that what Dogen would do is, I mean, I'm sure that Dogen knows something that Duncan has done that would be a kind of cause of, if not embarrassment, but at least people kind of questioning him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that fickle thing again, right? Like everyone knows he's the elder of Fickle Holly, right? He makes mistakes and fixes them quick, but he makes mistakes. You're welcome to sort of like, if you even want to come up with one, you should definitely feel free to do so. And he is an elder after all. He doesn't like being reminded of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Dogen says, last time the elders met in council, you made that kind of absurd claim, about what was needed to ensure the a bountiful harvest, and you were laughed at, right? It was embarrassing, and would just use something like
For sure,
some little thing that had kind of clearly happened recently at the council, and yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, I think he looks at both of the two of you, and he says, "You really should have listened to your friend Mr. Penrose here, but you're right. There is a way to do this, and a proper way to do this, and I'm not doing it. Next time, respect your elders more. And if I find that Colm O'Kellig has been spirited out of the village before tomorrow morning, well, I think we all know who will have to be blamed for that." And yeah, he turns around and walks away. So with that, let's take our first break. It is 10 past the hour, so let's come back at 20 past the hour. And I want to hear sort of how Dogen follows up that backing up of Una before we cut back inside. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I did not realize I was muted. Okay, so the mob has been dispersed, and with like a sort of disgusted, embarrassed, backward glance, Duncan kind of ambles away. So Dogen, you've sort of put the last word in to the push that Una initiated. What's your next step here?
Well, I think Dogen says, after Duncan leaves, I don't know whether picking fights with village elders is the wisest thing, but Duncan was never kind to my great aunt. So I don't know. I'm not going to lose too much sleep over causing him some
Una says
embarrassment.
that was me being nice.
But honestly, I think
as you're like doing that, I'm just knocking on the door and I'm like, Anya, are you okay? As you're speaking to me, Dogen.
And I think Dogen nods and says, "Yes. There are bigger fish to fry here." I think Duncan is the least of our concerns now.
Yeah. So Anya, I guess you hear Una now. And the devil, you can see, is disappointed. And it's sort of like with these little leathery wings that you didn't even notice before. It sort of like flutters up, and like it's not like it's natural. It's not like flying like a bird, right? Like the wings are fluttering, but it's cosmetic, right? Magic is making this thing fly. It's not. And it sort of like situates itself on the table and kind of like dips into whatever you were eating, grabs with one hand and starts munching on it.
Yes, fine, whatever. What do I need to make you go away?
Give me something I want.
What do you want? I have. Looks around. What does she have? She's got the whatchamacallit that
Una's like shouldering the door now, like goosh, goosh, Anya.
What do we have? All I have. Well, all I have right now is the future. Well, not. Well, isn't well. It hasn't been really working out for me. But. Sorry, the chat's.
Yeah, I see.
Una's gonna start. If she's not gonna answer, she's gonna start checking the windows.
Is the door locked on you?
Oh yeah, the door's locked. I have a knife, a scarf. I have. Sometimes I can see the future, but lately it hasn't been working out that well. I have what was. Well, I don't have it. I think I have my first kiss, but that's not going to happen.
You haven't even asked what I want yet. You're just throwing things at me.
I asked what you want. You asked me what do I have?
That's fair. Your first kiss. I don't want your happy future. And meanwhile, just like you're hearing like Una's voice like calling from the outside, right? I don't know what Dogen and Idris are doing, but I just want to like remind you that that's all that is going on while this is happening. And your brother says,
and Una's totally like checking the windows, trying to get things open, like trying every which way to get in this place.
Yeah, and Column says, he didn't ask me. It didn't ask me for anything. It just was happy to do what I asked. Yes, well, what you wanted, well, it led us here, and that's what I wanted. But to get to the next place, and like I don't think there's any like real mystery here, right? I'm terrible with pronouns tonight. It's like clearly like kind of like feeding on the general like anger and rage around it, right? And heightening it. There's and I think like that's what you were able to sort of pick up in like it's in like when it was like looking outside to see sort of like when licking its lips, but it didn't get far enough. And so if I can do something to help you, that might also upset somebody else, that would be a start. It's like very frank.
Yeah. If there wasn't anyone banging outside my house, I would have time to think this through, but I don't. So I think Anya's just like, fine. Just I'll do what you say. Just go. Do I have to shake hands or something?
I can go now, but I'll come back later and we can talk about it. I haven't asked you to do anything yet. Let's chat. Let's chat tomorrow. Maybe while your brother's in front of the elders. That might be a good moment for us to have a conversation, mightn't it?
Sure. Stop eating our dinner.
And yeah, it like flies out of a window, and I think Una especially, right? It like buzzes past your face as it goes out.
I see this thing.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You see it.
Yeah. Like she's like frozen. Like what? Like is trying to understand what's going on. And if like she probably takes a swing at it like way too late, like it's long past her.
Oh yeah. It's like just it's long past her. It doesn't even look. Wait, I think actually, it feels like the wind of the axe, like sort of rustled by it, and it turns around and it says, "Is there anything you want, child? You seem someone who maybe has some anger."
And yeah, I think she just looks at it and then spits on the ground and says like, "I don't have time for you right now, but I'm coming for you." And I like crawl in through the window to get in to Anya.
Yeah. So I think you see right before you turn in, it breathes in deep and smiles, and then just sort of like flies up, like directly up. Yeah. So Anya, I guess you see
Anya.
I guess you see Una crawling in through the window that the devil just flew out of. I'm curious what Idris and Dogan are doing outside while Una is frantically trying to get herself in.
Does Dogan see the imp?
Yeah, sure. I think if you have sort of like been anywhere, like sticking sort of like anywhere around Una, right? It's possible she's, I guess, like got around to the other side of the house, but like if you're sort of sticking near her in any way, you definitely saw it. Basically, Idris and Dogan, if you want to have seen it, you can have seen it.
Yeah, I was imagining I was just like waiting. I was waiting at the front door while Una was still banging on it, and I think I just stayed there because I'm a polite person. And, I'm not gonna break Anya's windows. So, I don't know if Dogan's there. I think at some point when that thing flies out, Idris is like, "Wait, that's." Why was the imp talking to Anya?
Mm-hmm. And you can see from where you're standing, right? Like Una was like right by the wall, like trying to get in, but you can see that like if you're standing outside by the front door, it has kind of like flown up to like perch quietly on the rooftop, maybe like at the top of the chimney or whatever, and it's just kind of perched there chilling out. Not bothering anybody, just chilling.
Has Anya said anything to me, or am I still just yelling her name and she's quietly sitting in the house?
You're squeezing in through the window. I'm just kind of like watching this happen.
If I see you, I'm gonna be so angry. I'm like, what the bleeping hell? You know, like, Anya, why didn't you say anything? What's wrong with you?
Everything's fine. What are you talking about?
I've been screaming like a banshee out here.
It's fine. We're fine in here. We don't.
I saw a demon fly out of your window.
Yeah, we're dealing with it.
What's wrong with you?
There's a problem, and we're dealing with it. Everything's fine.
I think like she'll walk up to you and like grab you by your like drops the axe and just grabs you by your collar and like looks you straight in the eye and is like, tell me exactly what happened now.
Why?
Question.
Yeah.
I mean, no, sorry, keep going. I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. Why? Well, you owe us an explanation. We're screaming. Everybody's here for you. We're screaming your name. You're not saying anything in return. I thought you were dead. And then a demon comes out of your window and all you have to say is nothing?
I think like Anya like kind of like puts their hands around like wherever Una was like grabbing her and just says like, it's our problem. We're dealing with it. It's fine, Una.
I think Calm now Una is gonna position himself like kind of between you and Anya and kind of like shoves you out of the way and says, Una, it seems like Anya doesn't want you here. I certainly don't want you here. You have to leave.
Yeah, this is like infuriating to Una because she's here to save all of you guys. And not only does you're not like appreciating it, you're not telling her anything.
And to be clear, like he's an adult who's telling you what to do here. So like if you keep like pushing, that's definitely a stand fast roll.
Yeah. I think I want to.
I think Anya, if she wants to, can like step in here also. But you know, like if you keep pushing without Anya's support, anyway.
I think I'm like I really want to call somebody out here. I want to yeah, like this screams like something is like very wrong. And yeah, I think I'm gonna go back to my last action where I was like, you know, this and this and this and this is what I was saying. And I'm just gonna stare down Anya, if that's okay with you, Leandro. And I'm gonna like basically challenge your honor here. Like this is suspicious as hell.
Yeah. Like what's the challenge? I want to like to make the challenge more concrete here. Like what are you saying to her? What are you telling them?
I'm saying that basically like Anya, the idea that Anya's trying to, or Una's trying to convey is, you know, this mysterious stuff is going on in town. Somebody died. The prime suspect is Calm. We're here to help you. Like we're here as your friends because we like assume that you're like an innocent party in all of this. And then we show up and like you don't look so innocent. You know what I mean?
Got it. You cool with that, Leandro?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, roll it, Una. And then, yeah.
I got an 8.
You got an 8. So on a 7 to 9 hit, they hear your words but have their doubts. They'll make excuses, justifications, pass off responsibility, or try and divert you unless one of your companions backs you up. There's no other companions here. They're outside. Leandro, I mean, I think it's up to you to sort of, like, how do you want to, what does it mean for you to hear their words but have your doubts? What kind of excuses, justifications, or, passing off of responsibility do you try to do?
I mean, my doubts is that, like, Una means well, but she's just a girl with a pointy piece of metal who's kind of good with a pointy piece of metal. This is supernatural bullshit. This is stuff I've grown up with. I've had to deal with. I'll take care of this. Una's just only going to get herself hurt. That's what Anya's thinking. That's her doubts. And
so how do you like express that to Una?
I think like Anya like sighs, kind of like, and she's kind of like talking. She's behind Colin because Colin's gonna like put himself in between the two of us, and we'll just say, Una, there are problems you can't just solve by stabbing them or hitting them with a stick. This is our problem, and we're gonna solve it our way.
Yeah, and then she'll stare at you back, and she's like, "Fine, keep it a secret. See if I care." And then like spits on the ground, and then unlocks the front door and storms off.
Yeah. So the door is open. Idris and Dogan. Una is storming off past you. You're both aware of the devil on the chimney. Una is not. What would I'm going to ask Idris because you were the one who's right by the door. Idris, what would you like to do?
Let me think. Okay, this is Idris. I think Idris is standing there in the doorway and was like excited when the door was starting to open and about to go in, but then when Una storms by, he like freezes and he looks at Anya, then at Una, then at Anya, and then kind of turns around and says and looks at Una, and then I think he just like chases after her.
Okay, so let's hold on to that and say Dogan. So so again, the devil's on the roof. You probably weren't standing right by the door, right? You were like a little. We don't really have the full space here. I guess you can be wherever you want. But you see like Idris chase after Una storming off as the door opens. What would you like to do here?
Well, I think Dogan has been transfixed by the devil up on the roof.
Sure.
And I mean, what does the imp? I mean, Dogan would ask questions like saying, "What is your intention here?" I mean, does he interact with? Dogan?
you can try. It's up there on the you're on the ground, right, and it's up on the chimney of this. What is it? A 1 or 2 story house, Anya?
I think it's 1 story.
Yeah. So it's up. It's like 1 story up on this. Like I'm imagining. Well, is it like this like sort of peaked roof thatched house, right?
Yeah, it's quite humble.
Yeah, with like a maybe the one stone thing on the whole has a stone chimney, right? And so it's like perched on top of the chimney, way up there. You could shout up to try and get it to hear you. The people around will notice, but it's not like the house is pretty isolated, so it's just like Anya, Calm, and maybe Idris and Una if they're still close enough, but probably not even.
Yeah, I think Dogan. Yeah, it makes sense that Dogan would yell and right, seeing Una kind of storming out, saying, "You can't leave. That there is a malevolent spirit there in front of us. What are you all doing?
So you shout that to the two of them, or you shout that up to the I guess you don't shout that to the thing.
No, but I think I'm shouting to Una and Idris and pointing to the imp on the roof and say, this is the cause of everything.
So Una, do you hear it, or are you too pissed off? Like, are you like running? Are you like just too enraged to be like self-aware?
That's a good question. I'm gonna roll for that. Actually, I'm gonna say higher than 7 I hear, lower than 7 or 7 and lower I don't hear. So let's do that.
Declaim responsibility.
Yeah, I 7 and lower I said I don't hear, so I don't hear.
Yeah, so Una continues storming off. Idris, do you respond to Dogen shouting, or are you just gonna still follow Una?
I think it just like pauses and hesitates again, but I feel like he's worried about his friend and neighbor, and is just gonna keep running after Una.
Sure.
Well, okay. So could I use my key on Idris to try to get her to speak?
Him, yeah. You can definitely
speak.
You can. I mean, you can use conjure. Let's talk about this. This is like kind of mind control magic a little bit. So I want to just like make sure people are like. I mean, first of all, Idris, would you be comfortable with any kind of magic, like sort of like compelling you to sort of slow down or stop or sort of?
Yeah, I think I like. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, and Dogen, what is this like? What is this look? Before we even get to rolling dice, I just want to get a sense of like what this looks like and what you're trying to accomplish with it.
Well, okay, so part of this is with Idris being the bell, kind of knowing that right, Idris has a special kind of power with speech, and I know about the Door of Silver, where if I open it, I can give speech to somebody, and I Dogen clearly has in his mind that, okay, people are getting distracted and are kind of being motivated by these kind of emotional responses and things, and they're kind of ignoring the evil that is staring us in the face. And I think what Dogen's intention would be to open the Door of Silver and try to then kind of activate Idris and Idris's speech ability to kind of speak what Dogen sees as being the truth here, which is that there is a malevolent spirit right in our midst, and there's a spirit right there perched on the roof, but nobody else is looking at it.
So, like, what you're trying to do is not sort of like get Idris to speak so much as to tap into his like silver tongue or whatever.
Yes,
for yourself. Is that the idea, or to compel him to speak, to say something?
Yeah, just to at least say something, to kind of through that power of speech to acknowledge, right, and to proclaim that there is a kind of spirit that is present in our midst.
Cool. Idris, are you comfortable with that as like a thing that Dogen is trying to do?
Yeah. Who would you like? Are we alone? Like, who would Idris be speaking to? Or
well, certainly I think to Una.
Right. Okay.
And anybody else, I guess, in the vicinity who could hear.
Right. At this point, it's just the four of you in column. Yeah, I think if Idris is cool with that, you can definitely try and make that happen.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what happens.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Cool.
All right. So I'm rolling. I gotta get this here. 2, 6, and 2. So I rolled a 4 plus 2.
So that is a 6. You are not doing great on these conjurer rolls.
No.
So you get to choose 2 out of these 3 choices. I do love it when this move fails.
Yes. I'm gonna. Well, so I'll choose that the door swings wide open and the effect spreads to other targets, and also that another door creaks open of its own accord. And I
Release more demons.
say that again.
I said release more demons. More demons.
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, the door of bone, which summons more spirits.
Sure. So let's talk about what happens when the door of silver swings wide open and the effect spreads to other targets. So, first of all, I want to know, Idris. So, how does this affect you? You feel it first, right? And I guess like the door is the door of speech is opening, and it's compelling you, I think, to speak your heart here. But it can't convey like content, if that makes sense. And I think in fact, that's what happens to everybody here. I want to hear from Idris first. But I think the door, you feel yourself compelled to speak out loud something you would otherwise never say.
Oh no. I think I don't know. I feel like it looks like Idris is running at like whatever full speed or what to catch up to Una, and then just stops when he feels whatever this he feels like. And I think his hands are in fists by his like side, and I think he just yells after Una. Stop. I know why are you so afraid? What did you keep running away from? Why don't you stay in one place and just feel your feelings instead of running constantly?
And Una, if you want to respond to that, again, the door.
Yeah, that's perfect. I have
the door. I don't know that Una has things that she doesn't. I think you're right. I mean, if she does have things she doesn't say, right? She says things in order to avoid saying the things, right, that she otherwise wouldn't say. So I think right, she's saying the thing that she would normally like say something else to avoid saying.
Yeah, so I think when you say what are you so scared of, I think Una turns around and normally like she would say, what the hell are you talking about, or like nothing, or shut up or something. Instead, what comes out of her mouth is, I'm not fucking scared. I'm fucking terrified. I can't do anything.
All right, we're gonna hang. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. But I think Anya, you hear Colum whisper. He doesn't say it loud, but he's clearly saying it to you. He says, I didn't directly kill them, but I did in some moments wish that Adair were dead and not in my way. and he turns white as a sheet, like just the blood comes out of his face as he says it. Anya, what you're also feeling this compulsion to say things that something that you otherwise would never reveal.
Yeah. I think I mentioned in the chat, in case anyone else is watching this, that Anya was about to close the door.
Yeah.
While this nonsense is happening on our front yard, so to speak. I think I just look my brother kind of dead in the eye and just gonna say, I know. I don't know what kind of person you're calling. You're my brother.
Is that it? That you know he's not a killer at heart exactly, but you know that he has that in him.
I know that. Yeah, I know that he's not as good as I would like him to be. Sure. I think I said it right there.
And finally, Dogen. You're the last, right? You opened the door, and this power bursts out of it in a wave, but it's almost like it's like shoots out and then gets pulled back in, and you can feel that force as it then hits you on its way back.
Mm-hmm. I think what Dogen is compelled to say is, I mean, he looks at that imp and says, my great aunt will live with regret of me unless I get rid of you. And I think Dogen is not necessarily, not really the vindictive type, but you really kind of get very much the sense that, right, that imp is Dogen's target because he can't, he cannot bear, right? He'll say, I cannot bear to live with the idea that my great aunt would regret what I have done or what I have failed to do.
Very, very, powerful. And I think as you're looking up and shouting this at the imp, the door of bone creaks open, and you see it.
Jesse, can I pause? Sorry, just 1 second here.
Mm-hmm.
Because so far we've been playing this as Dogen making mistakes, but it just occurred to me that maybe the way that we could spin this is that maybe there's some kind of instability or something else going on in the field of magic.
Yeah. No, this is not something that Dogen fucked up. I'm sorry if I didn't. I was actually.
I don't think you said that. I think that's just how I got. That's what I.
Yeah. I think his aunt certainly framed it that way, right? But at least here in this case, and you're about to get what just happened here. That was what I was about to say. But this is not right. This is not something Dogen fucked up here, right? Because I think what you see and the reason the door of bone creaks open, right, and you can see is not right, is because you see that the right hand of this imp has turned into a key, and the door of bone has appeared in front of it, and it has turned its hand in the lock and opened the door and slips through and says, at least for today, you're not going to have your chance. And the door slams shut. So we have these two volatile personal situations going on. I want to focus in on Anya and call him for a second, and then we'll cut back to Una and Idris. So Anya has shut the door and said what they said. And I think Column just collapses on the floor in a very similar position to the one that the devil had been in before, right? Like sitting down with, his knees up, but now his hands are on his knees and his hands are in his face and he's just sobbing. I think he's always tried to put on a strong face for you, but when you said that, he just, he thought he was confessing something to you, and he's realized no, exactly who he is, and he hates it, and he's lost it. He's just weeping.
Yeah, I think there's like a moment where like Anya kind of like just leans against the door and just feels really tired. And kind of like doesn't want to look at her brother, but I think the exhaustion just gets there, and she'll just kind of like go and like hug him. But it's kind of like she's kind of in a position she kind of always thought she was in, but didn't expect to be, which is like trying to look after her brother. And she's the one saying, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Is that a good place to end the scene, or do you have?
No, I don't think I have anything at the moment.
Yeah. So let's cut away outside. I think we should have this scene and then take our second break, and then we'll sort of, I think, cut to the morning the next day with the village elders and sort of Column's. It's not a full-on trial, but let's say his initial public interrogation, if people are cool with that. So Una and Idris.
So I think when we cut back to Una's in the same position that Column was in, on her knees, sobbing into her hands, just like uncontrollably. I think like after she said what she did, it like dawned on her what was going on, and all the emotions rushed up, including like, the feelings of her losing her father and older brothers without her ability to do anything or say anything or stop it in any way.
Idris is gonna like walk towards her and I think reach out and put an arm.
Yeah, I think before you touch me, I say like, "Don't you do it? Don't you pity me?" And then I'll like stand up, and I'll look her in the eye, and I'll say, "I'm fucking fine, okay? I'm fine. Leave me alone." And I'll like go back to storming off.
How do I? Okay, let's see. I was gonna try to roll open up.
Well, you can ask if they accept it, right? I mean, honestly, if we're being honest about what just happened there, it feels a little to me like you were offering some comfort, and Una did not accept it.
Yeah.
Which to me sounds like you're if everyone there is cool with reading what just happened as that. You are left awkward and exposed. Say what you do to feel less vulnerable, and mark where. Do
I get to mark 2 where? Because I have my grief thing?
Yeah, I think so. I actually emailed Luke about that, and they were I think their answer was you mark where before you roll.
Okay.
And so I think here there wasn't going to be a roll, but I think it's still the same thing.
So
you mark where, yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah, and then I think we just see the shot where like the hand reaches out and like closes and like falls to Idris' side, and then he turns around and he just spins in a circle because he doesn't know what to do.
All right, but what do you do to then in that moment then make yourself feel less vulnerable?
Okay, then he sticks his hand in his pocket, and in his pocket is it's a letter from Una's brother that Idris was in love with, and he just, it's like you can tell it's well worn and like red and like creased, and I think he just holds it like in his pocket and I think says something that quietly under his breath to the effect of, I'll try to take care of her for you.
And is that maybe the scene, right? The camera pans from Idris quietly saying that to himself to Una crying a few feet away, and then like pulls back up to the moon.
I think so. Or Una like storming away.
I mean, Una, do you get up and storm away, or do we just end on you kind of sobbing?
Oh no, I fully stormed away when she tried to like. I think I got really self-conscious as soon as Idris tried to console me, and I was just like, no, I'm not having this. I'm out of here.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I think that's the final shot, right? The back. I think it's the back of Una, like storming away, and then the camera pans up to the moon, and there's a silhouette of a door opening, and the sort of like impish figure, this devilish figure, like a sort of like flying in its kind of like bumbling way right out of the village and away in the direction that Dogen had sensed the ancient dead that emerged earlier. And I think with that, let's take 5. Let's come back at 10 after the hour, and then we'll frame the scene in the morning. And with Dogen's, not Dogen's, Column's interrogation, and go from there. Okay, fantastic. Sorry, I was just adding a geographical feature to the map that we'll talk about in just a moment. But first thing I want to do is just I'm going to finish up with on you, Leandro, on you, Anya. But so it's morning, and Column is going to be escorted to sort of like publicly answer questions in publicly answer some questions, right? We talked about how we talked about how there's this sort of like council of elders, and so they have a building. It's called the Circle of Elders. I've put it on the map here. It's not actually circular. It's this weird, like almost like half ellipse shape. And the way it's designed is that it's a big, tall, single room with kind of like a platform on the round end and windows on the northeast and south sides, and the west side facing you is just a blank wall where there are sort of like bleachers set up for the townspeople to sort of sit and spectate and participate. And I'm giving up my or betraying my New England roots here, that this is patterned roughly on a town meeting where there's a sort of a selectmen and representatives, but that anyone can come and speak and participate. So it's the morning, and Column, it's bright and early. Column's going to have to answer some questions and go from there in terms of what's gonna happen with him. And I'm kind of, when I want to just sort of go around and ask each of you, and we'll finish up with you, Anya. Like what how number one, if you're planning on going, and if so, sort of like how your morning beforehand goes. And let's start with you, Dogen. You wake up on the farm. What's your, this is going to happen pretty early, like an hour or so after sunrise, say. What's your morning look like? What do you bring with you? What's your goal?
I think Dogen definitely goes to the meeting, and but living on the farm needs to make some excuse to the parents, and I think tries to kind of come up with some excuse that all these the turmoil in the village has really upset Dogen's friends, and that he really needs to be there for them, and kind of said, probably gets up extra early and actually takes care of some of his tasks right before the sun even rises. Right, he's kind of out there working, right, to make up for the lost time, but then says, yeah, I've got to be there for my friends, and makes his way off.
Yeah, and I think your father looks at you and says you did your chores. I'll take care of that one for you. You can go, but be back for evening chores. You can't be shirking. Una, how about you? How does your morning look? Are you going to go? What's your
Una? Well, I'll answer that question, but first I'll give a little bit of thing.
Yeah,
What's
sure.
going on in Una's life? Una is up early. She's got bags under her eyes, and she's just quietly doing chores around the house. and her sisters are like playing around her and so on. And we see a few interactions between them, and she's just like really polite to them and soft spoken, and just does not seem to be like herself at all. And she's definitely not going to this meeting.
Okay, interesting. Idris, how about you?
I think Idris accompanies his mother to the meeting. I think like maybe they're expecting to have fewer people at the pub, and so Ellis has basically like, I'll just take care of this. You go do what you have to do. And I forgot her name. What's my mom's name? Probably is going because she's not the elder of Gentle Hazel, but she does a good deal of taking care of the tree.
Right. And this is, I mean, I think, there'll probably be a representative from almost every family there, right? This is a big, big deal. It's the kind of thing when the elder council meets, it's in this sort of public way, right? Which is right. Like a lot of people show up for like, the you can, if you want to think of this in like a jokey way, if anyone's ever seen, Gilmore Girls, right? The Stars Hollow town meeting, right, is like the kind of silly version of this, but this is like a real legit thing that exists all over New England, and like when important things are discussed, people show up. Smaller percentage in bigger towns, but people show up for this stuff, and certainly in a small village like this, I think this is a big event. I have a town meeting story from my childhood, but I'm not going to tell it now. So good. And finally, Anya, I think you wake up and your brother's already gone. I think you were like, expecting that, right? That like that he had to be there earlier, if he was going to go. And I'm curious, like, sort of how you sort of comport yourself. If you want to bring anything with you.
I think what Anya is gonna do, I think she wanted to like not go to sleep. She wanted to like stay up and read through stuff and prepare for that, but I think she did fall asleep because she's 15. I think then probably one of the last things she said, like before I went to sleep, is like she told Colin to like just to not mention any devils or imps, whatever, but just say you didn't kill Adair. You didn't do that. I think that's what Anya wanted him to emphasize. So, but I think she is gonna go. She'd love to go, but she needs to like go hunt down that devil, see where it's at.
Interesting. Okay. And just this is definitely a moment of safety. If you want to trigger common sense, right? You have this is like a quiet moment in the morning. You're by yourself. There's no pressure.
Yeah. Let's see. What do I already have that can help? And it's fine if you want to say I don't have anything that can help.
Oh, you're asking that can help you hunt down the imp?
Yeah.
What do you already have that can help? I mean,
so I think I'm kind of clear that I'm not going to anyone for help.
Yeah. I mean, it's made it clear that it like thinks that I mean, you have this set of tree runes, right? I think that like you maybe do you know how to use your runes? What do you use them for generally?
I think I use them kind of like in conjunction with the almanac to best prepare myself when I pull the thread. I think like the past 2 times we've seen this, it's always been under duress. But normally when Anya like feels like she needs to look into the future, the runes are there to like make sure that her mind is at ease.
Right. So I think like if you start to like set up the tree runes, the tree runes and whatever, you'll like they'll be like that setting your mind at ease, right, might open you up a little bit more to feeling the like this thing has power, right, and you can feel those kinds of things. I think that would help.
Yeah, I might call it superstition
Yeah.
to try and track the imp down using these
Sure.
runes.
Sure. Go ahead.
Where's it?
Here, I guess you're sort of finding a lost thing or some other petty feat of folk magic.
Yeah. This is like less relying on the thread pulling and more on
Yeah,
the runes
absolutely.
and the folk magic. That's a 10. Oh.
Fantastic. On 10 plus hit, whoever taught you this was telling the truth after all. It works as they said. Record the details for future use. So I think in the future you can do this without rolling.
Cool.
Which is to say, seek out a magical thing. I think is that right? Something that like, seek out a magical thing in the world. But choose one. The effect is weak or limited. The effect is unreliable or short-lived. It exacts a price, or it attracts unwanted attention.
I think I think it exacts a price. I'll mark somewhere.
Yeah, mark somewhere, and you can feel like some energy being sort of like pulled out of you. But it's, I mean, this is I promise you, this is not me trying to provide some illusionism to get you to the to the elder circle, but like it's pulling you in that direction, right? The imp, the imp, and I sort of like it clicks with you, right? Like the imp wanted to rile up an angry mob, and this is where a mob is going to be, and they might get angry. So it seems like a good place to go looking for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Anya was hoping to at least try to find the imp, not in her close, but it is what it is. I think she'll like pack away the runes and just kind of grimly go to where she's being told to go.
I think it actually like swoops down like when you're like about halfway there, and you can see it. I think you can see it like bobbing along in the sky, coming from the roof of the elder circle. But as you look around, like there's other people who are like on their way, right? This is the big thing happening this morning, and they don't notice it at all, and it lands on your shoulder, and it's sort of like feet claws kind of like grip, and there's like, it's not painful, but it's tight, and it says, "Would you like my help? Your brother is in some trouble. I can get him out."
My brother's in this because of you. What else can your help do?
It can get him out. I can
At whose expense?
promise you that if you ask my help, he will get away. He will be free and clear and able to return home to you. For now.
At whose expense?
Well, that's always the question, is it? We'll have to see what happens.
Can it be mine?
Can it be yours? Yes, if that's what you want.
I want my brother to be safe and free. Even if it means I'm not.
Very well. And it conjures out of thin air a sack. A thick sack, dark with blood. Still partly dried, but some of it's still wet. And it says, at the right moment, and you'll know when that moment is, display this to the elders, and you'll get what you wish. And it flies off and leaves the sack with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the sack. Let's see. Hold on, I need to look up something. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'll take the sack and I'll like go to the meeting.
Yeah. So we'll come back to you in a minute because I want to know what you're doing while everyone else is at this meeting. But Dogen, Idris, Anya, do you sit together? Do you sit separately? I want to sort of get a sense of how you're. The setup is there's these kind of like bleachers against this blank wall that's facing the yew tree, and then it's pretty full. The whole town isn't there because it was called at the beginning of a regular work day, and the farmers especially have to do. That's not the kind of thing that can just be put on hold. But there's a lot of people there, and there are of the elders, there are 4 presiding, and I've put their names in the NPC sheet. I'll get some pictures up later. But one is Liadra, the elder of Peaceful Willow, she her pronouns. Anselm, they them, the elder of Gentle Hazel. Strega, she her, the elder of Steadfast Oak. And of course, Duncan, who you met last night, looking very tired and haggard, but oddly resolute for him. And I think sitting, not bound in any way. So they're sort of on that dais at the front of the room. The 4 of them are sitting in chairs in a row, kind of at an angle to the hall. And so they can sort of face both Column, who's sitting in a chair facing them, and the crowd in town. And the way this works is, as you all know, is that first the elders will ask questions, and then they'll be able to open them up to the townsfolk. So I'm curious. Dogen and Idris and Anya, like, how are you? Are you up front? Are you in the back? Are you together? Are you separate? Do you find each other? Idris, go ahead.
I think Idris would be sitting with his mom, but probably would have if he saw Dogen or Anya, like his friends wave them over so that they would be sitting together, but wouldn't have made too much of a scene about it.
Absolutely. Dogen, how about you?
I mean, I think with Idris kind of signaling him over, he will go over there. I'm kind of imagining that the way this would work maybe would be that the adults kind of sit more in front, and then the teenagers kind of sit close by, like if they have a parent or something there, sit close by, but are kind of sitting behind them.
Are you cool with that, Idris, or do you want to be right with your mom?
Are we a few rows behind? Maybe I can imagine that maybe there weren't any seats nearby exactly, but if Idris saw Dogen coming, would have found a place. with multiple seats.
Sure. And Anya, so do you join them or do you sort of find your own spot?
I think Anya came with the purpose of finding her own spot, but seeing Idris waver over, oh, she's tempted. I'm gonna disclaim decision making. Try to like. There's a fear here that I'm standing fast against. I guess.
Yeah. If you want to, if you want to roll that too, you can definitely roll that move if you're feeling that you're afraid.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 I'm gonna try and wrestle down this this terror. Oh, I don't think oh, there it is. Ooh, the 7.
7. Okay, so on a 7, you steal you barely hold it together. So you're sitting fast against your fear here. So like, what are you losing?
I think my composure. I think it's enough to like signal to Idris that oh dear, something's up. As Anya kind of like shakes her head at him. I think you can. I think Idris can see. And Dogan, if Dogan notices as well, that Anya like very deliberately like shakes her head and sits herself away from them.
I feel like Idris, since he sees that, is gonna like. I don't know if if Idris would even take Anya's measure or just like tug at like Dogan's arm and say, "It looks like there's something wrong with Anya."
Well, I mean, her brother is in some. Well, he's in a spot here. I mean, of course, there's Anya would be weird.
Wouldn't she want to sit with people who would support her and not all the way by themselves? Go ahead.
Do you think we should go over there?
I think so. I'm going to go over there. I mean, if anything bad happens to Colm, then we can't just leave Anya alone. No matter what was going on at their house. He's gonna like just like get up and walk over there.
Yeah, and Dogan will do the same.
Does Anya respond?
I think she's very like she's looking towards where Colm is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Colm's there, right? I think he's sitting quietly. I think he's maybe in quiet conversation with let's say Liadra. Well, the other elders are sort of quietly like are coming to take their seat. I think probably Duncan is late. Is the last one. He hasn't quite arrived yet. In fact, maybe while this is happening, Una. So where are you going? As people are gathering to go into this meeting.
I don't think Una's going anywhere. I think Una's just like she's. The way I see this is Una is like her hair is done up right and she's dressed right and she's acting exactly how people expect her to act. Like she's doing what her mother told her and she's treating her sisters the way that everyone has always asked.
Right. So I think so your mother at this point has left for the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think she just left Una. Like maybe it's a little inappropriate for the young ones, so I'm left to take charge of them.
Sure.
And from a like cinematic perspective, I imagine that like whatever's happening, whatever the elders, whatever judgments they're passing or argument they're having, I feel like cinematically, like maybe it might be tied to like the housework that Una's doing around the house.
Sure. I think before any of that even happens, as you're maybe you're doing some sweeping on the like in front on the path to the house or whatever, and you see Elder Duncan like hustling to get to the the meeting, and you see perched on his shoulder the imp, the devil.
Ooh. Oh wow, what's Una gonna do here? Oh, tough call. You know what? I'm gonna need a moment to think.
Yeah,
about
that's fine.
this.
We'll cut. Let's cut back. So Idris and Dogan and Anya. So I want to give you, Anya, a moment to respond to Idris and Dogan's sort of like arrival, to like sitting by them before we make the next thing happen here. Anya, do you respond? Idris, Dogan, do you say anything?
I think Anya like only like kind of barely notices, and she's very like directly focused her attention on her brother.
Mm-hmm. Idris, Dogan, do you try to reach Idris, especially? Do you try to reach out?
Yes, but I think is this another offer comfort?
It can be. Tell me what do you do?
I feel like Idris kind of like having had that sense that Anya was sort of like on the edge, like had losing her composure and not being particularly okay, would have tried to like gently poke her arm in like that awkward, like, we're here if you need us to be here sort of way. But like, I feel like Idris probably understands enough to know that she's worried about her brother, so wouldn't like forcibly force his way into like their attention. So I don't know if that's enough, but Idris is just gonna let them know that they're there. And
Sure. If you mark to where here, I'm not sure exactly what this looks like. I don't think it makes sense for you to be like dying. So we'll figure out fictionally what it looks like if you end up taking that next where.
Okay. So
but
I should mark it first and then roll.
Mark one where. Well, first, and then the question is, Anya, are you going to accept the offer of comfort here? And I think just to paint the scene a little bit, right? Like you can see what kind of condition Idris is in, right? Idris is like a wreck, and right. That's what this where is saying, right? That he has put himself out, like emotionally, I think mostly in a very powerful way, and he's like on.
He just wants everyone to be okay.
Yeah, I wonder if we can maybe figure, if you do to mark that last where, figure it into the that the clearing your grief condition, but I don't know. We'll figure it out if we get there.
Yeah, I think seeing Idris just I think if Idris, I think seeing Idris in this state will kind of like make Anya like, you know, like her breath kind of catches, like she kind of like takes a cup breath, and I think this is like this is her version of opening up, or at least accepting. Idris opening up. It's kind of like, are you okay?
He smiles kind of weakly. And I think you can just see that he's like very stressed about how everyone is feeling stressed. And he just nods, like, as long as wanted to let you know that whatever is going on, we're here for you.
And yeah, roll with advantage.
Okay. So that is 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
D6 and then
Yep. Take the top two.
high. Okay. And what is this with honesty, which is +2?
God, imagine if you just miss.
Thanks, Leandra. That's a
That's a 9.
yeah. Math is hard.
Oh wow.
That's 9.
Yeah,
It's a
that's a
good thing I was
9.
rolling with
Yeah.
advantage.
So yeah, you share you share straight with one number and both unmark one where. I'd love to know what that looks like.
Yeah, I think like I don't know how Anya has that sack with her. I think it'll probably just show up because it's magic. It'll show up when it wants her to show it, so the sack's not there. So I think like Anya like lets out a breath she didn't even realize she was holding in, and kind of like gives Idris this kind of like nod and kind of says, when this is all over, I could do with more of that apple juice.
That sort of like throwback to the day before or whatever makes Idris like shocked a little because he wasn't thinking about that at all, but then he nods and says like, I'll make sure to have some.
Yeah. And I think at that moment, you see Duncan hurry in, sort of like haggard, tired, clothes a little bit askew, and I think all three of you see the devil, the imp, sitting on his shoulder, sitting on his shoulder, as he quickly walks in, up onto the dais, and everyone comes to take their seat, and the Strega takes her big oak staff and pounds it on the stage and says, "The council is now in session." And Una, now, have you had a moment to
Oh yeah. Una is just gonna like take one look. And you're just gonna see like all the fire kind of run out of her eyes, and then she just like goes back to work. You get a close look of her face, and yeah, she just takes one glance, and then it's like it's like she's flat. She just checks out and goes back to work.
Okay. So the interrogation begins, and they're asking, and I'm not going to like do back and forth dialogue. It's like 4 NPCs all talking to each other. I'm just going to sort of describe it here, right? But like there's they ask sort of like very basic questions to sort of establish, okay, well, where were you at the time? I was at home with my with my sister. No, why were you fighting? Well, we both wanted this job. Etc. But and there's no, like, it's very clear that like the interrogation isn't shedding any real light. He clearly has motive, but he also has what seems to be something like an alibi, and the whole time the Anya, the imp, is just sitting on Duncan's shoulder, occasionally whispering something in his ear, but mostly just staring out across this crowd directly at you and grinning. And Dogen and Idris, you both see this as well. And when their interrogation kind of comes to a close, they then open up and they say, the suspect will now, this is not a trial, but the that comes later, but the suspect will now take questions from the village in the hopes that perhaps our collective knowledge and wisdom will shed light upon this matter. And questions open up. And at first there's silence. Everyone's always uncomfortable. And so there's a moment, if any of you wants to jump in and ask something, you can. But if not, Anya, what are Sorcha's pronouns? Sorka's pronouns?
Oh, did I put them there? We'll just say she, her.
She, her. So, Sorka stands up and she says, I heard Idris telling people yesterday when you came back that there was that she'd seen you out in the meadows when you weren't supposed to be there. What were you doing? And he's silent. And then Duncan glares at him and says, "Speak up, boy. You are compelled to answer the village's questions." And I think this is the moment. The imp is like now like looking at you like beckoningly, Anya. And it's clear that it wants you to interrupt and deposit the contents of that sack on the stage.
Oh God, I have to make a decision. Okay, let me see what this translates to. I don't want to say this is another stand fast, but I just I mean, I think just talking this true, I think Anya would do it. I just want to roll this move to give you, Jesse, a chance to like maybe zip in if things go one way.
Want support?
Yeah, you can turn to your peers for help here also.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a move. Okay.
I can just imagine you turn to Idris and she's like, or he's like, I support you, and then like a decapitated head or something falls out of the bag.
Yeah, I think I'll turn to the two of them. And we'll say like, do you see the imp, right?
Nodding furiously while squeezing your hand real hard.
I'm going to get everyone's attention while that's happening. Points at the imp, like, I don't know, do a thing.
You want us to attack that?
Okay.
Sure. So what this sounds a little bit more like to me, and I'm cool with this if you folks are, is it sounds like Anya's going to provide some kind of a distraction while Idris and Dogan go after the imp.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to quote unquote do as the imp says, but while that drama is happening, I'm hoping other people can do stuff.
Right. So what it actually sounds like is a little bit more like this is you're the one who's turning to your peer, like that's the trigger, but it sounds like the sort of the move that's going to happen here is Idris or Dogan resorting to violence with your help is kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Or one of Dogan's special move things.
Or one of Dogan's spells, right? That's also definitely a possibility for sure.
Yeah, it was either that or my deal was like, yeah, to stand fast and make sure this like kind of like make sure the attention is on me.
If you do this, the attention will be on you. Don't worry about that.
All right. Okay,
this is
okay,
this is no one's when that you haven't opened the bag or looked to see what's inside it. I'll tell you when that gets dumped out on stage, everyone's going to be looking at you.
Okay, yeah, I think since we're close to time, I'm gonna just do that. And yeah, I guess I'm giving them.
Yeah, and I'll let the turn to your peers be, count for whatever roll, whichever one of them ends up making here. I think that's fine.
Okay, cool, lovely. Let's do that.
So what do you do, Anya?
I think I'll stand up when after we have that quick hurried conversation.
Yeah,
and be like, I have something to show the village. I've got this sack.
Yes. Ms. O'Kellig says Strega, who's sort of moderating this meeting.
I think like I'll make my way to kind of like the front and I'm holding up like the sack. And I kind of like I'm gonna make sure that like I'm where everyone can like see me. Probably near to my brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll empty it out.
And a human heart rolls out of or falls out of the bag to plop on the ground in front of you. And there is a gasp throughout, and then like an angry murmur starts to rise. I think Idris, you see your mother like put her hand over her mouth in like horror, and Strega shouts, "Anya, where did you find this?" And like the devil has given you finger guns.
Oh my god, what a prick. I think I just kind of like hold my take a deep breath and just say like, I think I'm looking towards where Idris and Dogan are and just say like, what would she say? God.
Well,
she's a good time to Dogan.
I mean, everyone's. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying, Luna?
Oh, I was saying like while she's deciding, it's like the perfect dramatic moment for Dogan and Idris to make their move. Yeah,
that's what I was about to say. I think everyone's eyes are on you, the whole room. So Dogan, Idris, what's your play here?
Idris is basically looking at Dogan to figure this out. Idris is support. Dogan does things.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dogan with that distraction, I think Dogan is leaps up and is going after the imp.
We're physically going after.
Yeah. What's that look like? Describe it.
Well, okay, so I think what Dogan does
the imp is on Duncan's shoulder.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, so people are probably going to misinterpret what's going on because like the adults don't see the imp, but Dogen is going to have clutched in the same hand his knife, but it's also with that key, right? He clutched next, in the handle with the knife, and he yells out, you've done enough to foul up this town, this family. Be gone, and is going to lunge after it with that knife clutched with the key.
Sure. And what are you trying to? Is this like, are you physically attacking it? Is this resort to violence? Or are you doing something else with the key to open a door?
Yeah, I think I'm going to open a door to try to banish it.
So that sounds like the door of bone to me.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. So roll that plus resolve.
So that gives me a 9.
9 so it gets bumped up a level to a 10 plus because of the turn to your peers. But here's what I'm wondering, Anya. So you worry, upset, or outshine Dogen, and therefore, no, that doesn't make sense. The pronouns here are confusing to me. Who's who? I think Dogen. Anya worries, upsets, or outshines you, and you must mark where, or Anya becomes tired, shaken, and hurt, and they must mark where. So Dogen, who marks where here? I mean, I think.
Well, it's up to Dogen.
Yeah, fictionally, I have an idea of what I think makes sense, but Dogen gets to decide, and we can make either one work.
Okay, so
I'd like to know who marks where, and then we can come back to what your 10 plus looks like, because I want to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out. So this is, and the where is because of the
helping.
The helping.
I mean, I think fictionally it makes more sense for Anya to mark where.
Yeah, that makes sense too. So Anya, we'll come back in a minute and talk about how this moment is wearing on you. I don't think it will be hard to describe. Dogen, so tell me what this looks like. As you open the door of bone to banish this creature.
I think it looks different. It looks differently to different people. I mean, I think to Dogen's friends, what they see is kind of Dogen with that knife, but they also see the key, and they see, they see, Dogen lunging at the imp, but more with the key, right, to kind of, and a small little door kind of opening, right, as he's lunging, in the door kind of moving then simultaneously to the imp, to kind of, right, and it kind of opens up and they see this kind of imp kind of going into the door.
Yeah,
but I think the adults, they don't see that, right? They
right. Duncan sees it. Duncan knows exactly what's happening, right? Because he's got this imp talking to him on his shoulder.
Yeah.
right? And he sees you coming at him with the knife and the key, and he just looks like it's very similar to the look he had when Una and you accosted him the previous night, like shame and disgust, and a little glimmer of hope now, though. I think as the door like passes through him to envelop the imp, which like gasps as it gets swallowed by the door. And I think we're gonna, because we're at time. What I'm just gonna do quickly here is like zoom out on this scene. I want to hear, because the imp has been banished. And I think something the camera sees, but that no one else does, is if you remember how the imp's hand turned into a key to let itself through the door of bone the previous night. But as it gets sucked or pulled through the door, at the end of its wrist, a key kind of gets left behind as it's like passing through, and drops on the floor. And I think you've been like physically like on top, right? You're like right there, and I don't think anyone quite notices as that key drops to the ground, but the camera picks up that Duncan picks up the key. Zooming out, there's like all this panic. Anya, I want to come back to you. So this is going on, and yeah. I just want to know, like, how do you respond to while this is happening, right? What are you telling Strega about where the heart came from? And you know, you're saying this now, like knowing that the imp has been banished. Right.
The imp's not there. Okay.
Right, but you like there are still real life consequences, right? There's a human heart that you.
Yeah.
None of that has gone away.
I know. I know that. God. Man, I wish I knew.
I'm only looking for an answer because I think we should like we're gonna skip forward a few days for the last session.
Yeah.
I want to just like put a little button on this.
Yeah, I think I don't have the exact wording in my mind because it's late. But sure. I think what Anya says, because like Shrek is asking like, where'd she find this? God, I think. Let me look at the map. Yeah, I think I'll say like, I found it in the meadows. I found it in the pits. It's probably like it's the most vague.
Sure.
Because she saw that the imp is banished, so she's not going to do what the imp just said, which is like,
sure, yeah, and that's it, right? So, well, nobody knew that Adair's heart had been removed. We were keeping that quiet, and it's enough, I think, to get your brother off for now, right? Because the time frame doesn't quite work for him to have done it and gone out there and then gone, all of that. But they still think there's a murderer on the loose. And so just like zooming out, and I know you have to run, but there's I think we get like the shot of as I think the camera's sort of like focused on Una like doing chores around the house as the villagers sort of like walk off, back to their homes, Anya and Colum, and everybody, and then the camera sort of heads out of town to the meadows, and there is a figure in tall and broad, in icy armor here in late summer, right? With a heavy two-handed sword strapped to its back, and a beard that seems of ice and frost, hanging from a skeletal face. And I think Dogen, as he's walking towards the meadow, right up towards back home to the farm, feels ever so slightly the sense of the risen dead, the ancient dead that he felt before from the meadow. As this figure on camera, makes its way down into the caverns, and that's where we are. Still lots of problems, plus this ancient dead creature, and that's gonna be it for now. Have a great night, everybody, and I'm just gonna end the recording.